Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Action Network Boxing Show. This is
That's the name we can come up with?
That's the name we came up with.
There's so many boxing cliches. We could the rematch with Ruiz.
No.
Straight up?
We're just going Action Network Boxing Show.
Keep it simple, stupid.
No orthodox fighting style on this show, I see.
No,
Straight
not
up.
at all.
All right.
Not at all. So we're talking Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua, part two, part deux. It's going down in Saudi Arabia, which is an odd choice, but, money talks. So, first of all, Joshua lost. Biggest upset ever, or second biggest upset ever, right? How is he favored in this fight? Leboff, please explain that to me, because I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a pedigree stuff. It's a pedigree thing, right? Like, this is a guy with one of the, most hyped up amateur careers ever. He's an Olympian, gold medal, really handsome guy. He was the thing in boxing coming into that fight. Nobody thought he was going to win, or lose, obviously. He does. He should still be the favorite. I think he should still be a bigger favorite than he is, but, people want to bet the underdog again. They want to be a part of the story with Ruiz, and we're seeing that kind of shape the odds right now.
This number is laughable.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely, I'm not going to say, I don't know if we can curse on this, but it is close to effing laughable as I've ever seen.
No, feel free. On the Action Network Boxing Show, you can curse all you want.
All right. So we were there at Madison Square Garden.
We were.
And we didn't see each other till after the fight, but it was one of the most surreal things that I was in the building for the Larry Johnson 4-point play, and I'll always say the Garden will never sound as loud as that, but I've never seen the Garden react in a way that when when Ruiz caught him in the back of the temple with that punch, I've never heard that gasp before. I've heard cheers, I haven't heard that gasp.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is he connected, that fight was over like as soon as he landed on the temple. And you have to remember, he got up after getting knocked down right after that, on the chin, took it and responded that way, so props to him. But does that fight turn out the way it did if he doesn't connect him in that one little tiny spot in the temple? I don't know. And that's obviously what odds makers are thinking here is we're banking on the way this fight is supposed to be played out, which is Joshua winning on the cards and looking like the pristine champion that he is. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen here. I don't know if revenge is a factor because they apparently love each other, like hugging and chatting.
There's no
beef whatsoever. And then after the weigh-in today, so the numbers on the weigh-in that came in this morning, right before we're taping, are, I can't read your handwriting.
283.
283.
He came in 268 for the first one.
That's 15 pounds over the last fight. Joshua comes in 238. Was that 15, 10 under from the first fight? So the weight differential doesn't mean a whole lot because, at least in terms of reach, athleticism, Joshua checks all those boxes, right? And he's probably going to wait. He'll probably get up to 250 by the time the bell actually rings. Talking about it before that, you don't gain the water weight back.
Well, they won't because heavyweights aren't really cutting weight. So it's not the rehydration process isn't just the same thing as if these guys were, welterweights trying to hit 147. But I mean that's a mass. He's a big guy already. He comes in with a lot of protection. He added more. There are all these stories about him eating pastrami pizza throughout his whole training camp and stuff. So there's two ways to look at it. Is it a calculated thing? Is this something he's doing on purpose to add protection? Because look, Joshua's got a ton of power. I actually think him knocking Ruiz down in that third round kind of was a curse in disguise, I guess, because it forced him to go forward, try to end the fight, and Ruiz is such a good counter. He's a great counter puncher. That's his one trick. Is I shouldn't say one trick. He's got very fast hands. He's a good combination fighter, but his best asset is his counter punching. When you knock a guy down, you're going forward, and Ruiz instinctually just landed a perfect counter punch. You saw Joshua came over with a missed hook, and Ruiz caught him, and that ended the fight, like you said.
So here's the question: outside of the hook, right, the famous hook that he landed, what else can Ruiz do that actually gives him an advantage? Because obviously everybody wants to bet the underdog because they want to win money, right? So if I'm betting Ruiz, what am I betting that he's going to be able to do in the first fight that he can bring into the second?
Answer this question for me. What does this extra padding do on his stomach for him?
What do you mean?
Okay, first of all, did you see the weigh-in today? He looks up at Joshua's chin.
It's an 8-pound.
Joshua can't hit him in the body. He'd have to kick him to get down that low.
The whole the fight would have to go off script to answer your question, right? Joshua should be able to just sit behind his long jab. He doesn't get the credit he deserves because for his power. I think he's overrated as a boxer, maybe mentally. He just always makes a mistake in a fight. He did it against Klitschko and he was able to come back and win. The fight against Carlos Takam, he took forever to get going. Povetkin, he was in trouble. And I mean, those are fighters that he should be tiers above. Klitschko notwithstanding, but he was 41 at the time. So if he keeps the fight on script, just sits behind the jab, he could easily just snore away to a
That was
wide
supposed to be
decision.
the script for the first fight.
Right, but what he did was he knocked him down.
Right.
And he went
had to go
forward.
and it cost
And then
him.
when Ruiz was
Right.
in just fight or flight mode, he missed a hook. Ruiz caught him with the hook, and that changed everything. It changed the sport. So
I agree.
So if you're betting on, if you're betting Ruiz, you're betting
on hand speed. I think
you're
you're betting on
hand speed, and you're betting on chaos more
Right.
than anything. You're betting Joshua to maybe take one risk too many, which I just don't think he's going to do.
And will Joshua have flashbacks if he ends up getting caught again, maybe not in the same spot, that his equilibrium just vacates his body? I mean, he was a walking zombie after he got hit there for multiple rounds. But if he gets like hurt, maybe in quotes, hurt. If he gets hurt, is he going to start having this, oh no, here we go again moment? I don't know if he's ever been faced with that before, because until then, he'd only been knocked down once in his career.
Well, I mean, he's been caught. Like Povetkin caught him. Klitschko knocked him down.
Difference between caught and hurt.
Yeah, but he's been what does Teddy Atlas call it, like the shadowy place or whatever the fighters
shadow
go?
realm.
Yeah, that you got to fight out of. So I think his problem, he's just, maybe it's like a poor defense thing, but he should be so technically sound that shouldn't be the issue.
Well, he's a freaking robot, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that everybody says about him, is that he's so even Ruiz said it going into the first fight, was that he fights like a robot. Like, he's very technical. So I assume, like you said, if chaos comes, that will throw him off his game. But when you lose the biggest fight of your career, and arguably the biggest fight in the past 30 years, I would imagine going into this next fight, that probably helps him, because now he knows, okay, just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Run if you have to. Like,
Right.
just you don't have to do the bravado thing, like, oh, I gotta come at this guy. Just run away and just don't let him get any kind of advantage on you. I would assume is going to be his strategy. So to me, chaos doesn't necessarily help Ruiz unless Joshua is just completely clueless and doesn't know what he's doing.
So these weights, it's not always the full determination of the way the fighting style is going to happen in a fight, but 238 versus 283 tells me that Ruiz is swinging for the fences here, right? With the size that he's coming in with. Joshua at 238 tells me he's coming out with speed, and he's going to want to win on the cards early, so he doesn't have to come in and have to try and finish Ruiz, and he can just paint his face for rounds and just sit back and win on the cards and win all of his belts back. Because no matter how he wins this fight, as long as he gets his belts back, everything's back on track for the potential Wilder rematch down the road, right? He's back on those tracks as long as he's got his belts. So when I see this, Ruiz kind of knows that he's definitely not the better boxer. He may have like better hand speed and better connection accuracy, but I'm coming in here trying to do the same exact thing I did in that first fight, that swing for the fences with me and whatever cannonball body that I have. We're trying to land a strike, while Joshua's out here just trying to get spares. And spares, honestly, if you're not that great of a bowler, are going to beat the strike bowler every single time. And it's kind of a corny cliche, but it does seem true. And especially with Joshua, who has never been hurt before this first fight, I don't think he wants to get hurt again.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think we because of what happened in the first fight, and because like people rag on his chin. Me and you rag on Joshua's chin all the time. I don't think he's actually, like, he does have, it seems like he might have a glass jaw a little bit because of the Klitschko thing, now because of this. But both times he's gotten up and fought, he didn't really give a good account of himself against Ruiz when he got back up. But against Klitschko, I mean, he came back and won that. He was really, really good in that fight after he got knocked down.
It's what catapulted him
Right.
into the status.
All of a
that he
sudden,
is.
he's the heavyweight guy, and then from that, maybe like in football, you always talk about like letdown games. Basketball, like, you know, there's going to be a letdown game after you play the Patriots or whatever. So you fight the best heavyweight of a generation. You beat him in that way, and then he took on Carlos Takam. He was supposed to fight Kubrat Pulev in that fight. He got hurt, so he pulled out, and he fights Takam on short notice. Maybe he just wasn't up for it, even though, you know, 80,000 people screaming your name should get you up for it. So he wasn't that good. And then the Povetkin thing too, like, you know, he was probably just waiting for a bigger fish and didn't really just give the best, you know, account of himself. And then I think he actually did that again against Ruiz. I mean, this guy comes in on 12 days' notice. He's not the guy he's preparing for. He's not the guy he wants to fight, and he wasn't that sharp. So if the question is Anthony Joshua, is he like busted? Because if he loses this fight, it's over for him, right?
Yeah.
So he's fighting with all the pressure on his shoulders. Ruiz can come in, he can eat all the pastrami pizza he wants because he's made what?
He's already got the 30 for 30 locked up.
Yeah, he's got everything.
The same way they got Buster Douglas with him, he's going to have his
everything.
one day.
He's got everything in front of him. His game plan for this is just to if he wins, so be it, but just to not basically not die. Like, he just wants to go in and come out and be able to have like a life after this, because he's got it made in the shade, and he shows off that attitude in the way he's kind of even approaching everything. He's always got a big smile on his face. I think he's gonna be so loose, and that's what I was talking about with Chaos. Like, he's not gonna be much like Tyson Fury. Like, you can't really game plan for that kind of fighter, someone who's gonna show you different kind of feints and movements. If Ruiz adopts that style, he'll be in the fight. I just don't think Joshua will be able to let him get close enough to do that, because he can't, because his career would literally be over if he takes a fall.
Well, his attitude. I'm scrolling the timeline right before we started this podcast that Ruiz, after the weigh-in today, just goes back up to his suite with his family, and they're just munching down on Mexican food and pizza and things like that. It really seems like he doesn't have a care in the world, that he's playing with house money. And that makes me think, do you guys put any stock in when Joshua knocked him down at the Garden first, right, before he went in for the kill? Ruiz gets right back up from that. Granted, he was stunned.
He like almost smiled.
It was like, wow, he got me, but that didn't scare me at all.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best that you got. You can knock me down and I'm not hurt. Do you put any stock in that, or does Joshua still have that knockout power? Not Deontay Wilder knockout power, but still feared knockout power that would make Ruiz take a step back?
If Ruiz goes into this fight thinking that Joshua can't
touch
knock him out,
me,
then
he's
he is absolutely fucked. He is screwed. Like, Anthony Joshua, this loss notwithstanding, is probably one of the physically. I mean, just look at him, right?
Yeah,
like,
he's
Just
not-
LeBron James of boxing when it comes to
it's
athleticism.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
He's
And if
made
you
for a
see-
sport where they don't wear shirts.
If you saw the fights that he's fought prior to this loss, you wouldn't even think like, oh, no one should be scared of his power. Like, he can knock you into next week.
Yeah,
Like, he's got that kind of strength. And I think the added benefit that he has is, like, now he has something to chase, right?
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't had that in a while. He had the ability and he had the freedom to fall back and chill and, train in Miami and hang out in New York before the fight, because he's fighting. He's the champ. He's fighting, and this is a coronation for him. The tables have turned. He knows that this is essentially it for him.
The only other
and I
fight-
think that changes his mindset. He goes into it thinking, okay, I have to do everything right. So I'm the technical guy. I'm the guy who knows all. That's his thing. So to me, I think he has a little bit more of an advantage. And I think if Ruiz goes in thinking, oh, I took his best shot and I got up, then he's
No, it's not as bad. And I mean, you think about it, before his fight against Joseph Parker, another one where he wasn't really that great. But I mean,
the refereeing was terrible.
Yeah, refereeing was bad.
I just had to say that. Awful.
And he still, I think it was close to a shutout. It was a really wide decision for him. Parker's he's probably tier 2 heavyweight.
Yeah.
And he had a reputation coming up too. Like, this guy's could be, him and Joshua were kind of on a collision course. Then when Wilder started to really pick up steam, Parker kind of took a back seat. But that fight where he went 12 decisions with Joseph Parker, that ended a 20-fight knockout streak. I mean, he had never not knocked out somebody. So Joshua can put anybody. He can put Fury down. He can put Wilder down. He can put Andy Ruiz down. He can end a fight in a second. It's just whether or not he lets his hands, if he wants to do that, because he did it once and he got caught coming back. I mean, his best fight in my mind still is that Klitschko fight, and he put down Klitschko in the 10th round, 11th round. So that also shows me that power didn't go away after he got knocked down. So he is, whether it's round 1 or round 12, he's a complete threat to knock Ruiz out.
A lot of people that are watching this or listening to this now, this fight this weekend may potentially be their first not only fight ever, but Anthony Joshua fight. They just know him for getting knocked down and knocked out by Ruiz. Yeah. They don't know about all this brilliance and why he's so popular to begin with. And what they remember is him standing in the corner that I'm screaming at the top of my lungs at Madison Square Garden. Right before it happened, he quit. Like, he spit his mouthpiece out. He walks to the corner. He's asked by the referee several times. They did him a solid. Yeah. They could have called that fight 3 times. Yeah. Walk to me. Put your gloves up and walk to me. The man would not come out of the corner. My question to you guys is, did he not want to come out of the corner mentally, or was it simply because he talks about his equilibrium was knocked out of his body? Was it because he just couldn't do it anymore and his physical, like, I can't fight, but I don't want to tell you I can't fight? There's a big difference there, because if he mentally didn't want to fight, that's a huge advantage for Ruiz. But if it was just like, listen, my body is not operating right now, I have a concussion, I can't come out of the corner, I'm trying, Mr. Referee, there's a huge difference there, but it's an opinion, so I'm curious as to what you guys think.
Well, I think in that doc that DAZN did about the fight one night, Mike Tyson said it best. He said, look, his fucking legs can't move. He can't move. He's not doing anything. Like, he physically could not move. mentally, I think he wanted to, and being there in Madison Square Garden, I mean, the place was going nuts. But I think after that fourth one, everyone who was there to see Joshua win was also kind of like exhausted from like, how is this happening? And I think he felt that energy, right? Like he feeds off the crowd. He comes in, he's used to fighting in Principality Stadium and all these other huge places. So like, I think he feeds off the crowd, and even the crowd was kind of like, what the hell is happening right now? So I think mentally he did want to. I don't think he quit. I think he was trying to buy as much time as he could. But physically, he just was unable to continue. Like, he got knocked down 4 times.
Yeah.
How many people have gotten knocked down 4 times in a fight? The referee usually doesn't even let it get past
It was
3.
from
You know what I
simple
mean?
contact, too. He just couldn't
He just
maintain his
couldn't
balance.
stand up. So I don't think he quit. But I do think that he was beaten and exhausted.
The mouthpiece was a bad moment for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it still all just comes back to that one mistake he made. He made one mistake in the third round. That is a domino effect that ruined his entire fight. So it's not. I'm not worried about him. People can say all they want about, is Anthony Joshua, does he even want this fight? He's been a little bit quieter. The build up to the fight's been weird, mostly because it's taking place in Saudi Arabia. But like, there's a lot people don't want to talk about. Like, Eddie Hearn's paying writers to come over. He's footing the bill for like all these journalists to come over, and most of the pieces that are coming out aren't like the traditional, stories you read before
Joshua
a fight.
resurrection,
right? It's
narratives.
the whole media spin on this fight is weird. So I think all of this from the just the upset itself, from people thinking Joshua is soft or soft mentally, or it doesn't have a good chin, or is kind of just washed, doesn't care about boxing, is giving you as a bettor an incredible discount, like basically
Unreal.
across the board.
Unreal.
And
there should be a 0 behind that number. There should be a 0. Let's be honest. This is Mayweather-McGregor.
This is it's. I mean, it's hard to compare. I mean, Andy Ruiz came into that first fight. Joshua was minus 5,000 at some places, 25-1 as high as that. But Ruiz was 31-1, 32-1 coming into that fight, and he had fought Parker, and he fought really well against Joseph Parker. He took him. They went the distance. He's a good boxer. I mean,
he could have been the champion going into that fight.
Right. He could have
in another. If something broke it differently in that.
If he was fighting like Povetkin or someone like that, if like the IBF was just like, you know what, screw it, we're gonna take this belt away and make you 2 mandatory challengers, and Ruiz fought one of those tier 2 guys, he could win. I mean, he's probably the 4th or 5th best heavyweight. The thing was, nobody had heard of him before. Everyone looked at it, like you said, as a coronation. So that's why those odds were as wide. Hindsight's 2020. They should have never been like that, as we now know. But now we're getting like the opposite end. It should be somewhere in between. Odds like this in boxing, especially like boxing odds, wide odds are not uncommon. Like, that's usually, most fights have wide odds. This fight is like basically a minus 140 favorite in another sport. Like, if this was a baseball game,
It's a field goal difference in football.
right? If this is a baseball game, you'd be like, oh well, the Tigers are huge underdogs in this. But in boxing, it's not. This means like this is being viewed as a close fight, and it shouldn't be, because the talent gap is just so wide that you gotta. There's just no way you can't talk me into betting someone who was 25-1 6 months ago in the same fight at 2-1.
Yeah. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around, just because of the difference here. Difference in like skill, reach. That every single analytic will tell you that Joshua should kill this dude. But to follow up to the responses there about if he quit or not, let's not forget that when Joshua got hit in the temple, which messed him up for the rest of the fight, there was still 3 full rounds between when he got hit then and when he actually quit. So in my opinion, if he wanted to quit, it probably would have happened in those 9 minutes between when he actually went down.
Right.
Now, we saw in that same One Night documentary, he's in the corner like, dude, what hit me? I feel like I'm in a WWE hardcore match, and Vince McMahon just hit me with a chair, like blindsided me.
Yeah.
What hit me? And the trainer's like, you got hit in the back of the head. And he's like, okay. So he's like standing up, and he just looks like confused. I wouldn't say he's like mentally out of this fight, but to your point, like, we haven't heard much from him leading up to this. So we can't take that either way, that he's like scared or quiet. I think he's just going to go out there and be the robot.
Yeah,
right.
I hope so. That's what Eddie Hearn wants us all to think too. I think Eddie Hearn probably was like, "Listen, buddy, like, we're just going to keep our mouths shut. The narrative we want is for people to think like you're taking this very seriously."
And in regards to the line, remember, the betting public, again, only watched that first fight. majority of the people, all this money that's going to come in there, granted they'll be your sharps and your professionals, but this is drawing a lot of attention, and people want to root for the Mexican Rocky. The same way they wanted to bet against Floyd Mayweather, because I just don't like the dude.
Right.
So this line out there is anticipating a whole bunch of people in Las Vegas in bachelor and bachelorette parties that are going to go to the window because it's 11 o'clock local time, drunk, be like, I'm taking the Mexican Rocky. And they're like, thank you, we'll take all of your action at this number. So I think there's more of a business decision as to why that number's out there, because it's most certainly is not boxing related, at least in my opinion. I would make this fight, honestly, minus 1,200 is a fair line.
I don't think anyone would bat an eyelash at anything between like minus 800 to minus 2,000 almost. Like you'd be like, yeah, that would make sense. That's probably what the true odds are in this fight.
Because you're betting on a home run. You're betting on him landing
you're betting,
a knockout punch.
It would have so many things would have to break right for Ruiz for you to cash a 2-to-1 ticket. When you're rooting for a miracle, you want it to be, and it's obviously not a miracle anymore, but when you're rooting for so many things to break your way, you want bigger odds. And so, I mean, if you want to go bet on Ruiz, there's probably better ways to do it through a prop or something. Like maybe will Ruiz get knocked down and still win, because he's like minus 177, I think, to be knocked down in the fight. And so if you want to bet him, like go look for a better way to get your money. Like no one's going to judge you for just trying to get action on a story like that, because hell, we all want to root for that. But if you're looking at this, like you said, as a logical business decision, it's really, really hard for anyone to convince me that you shouldn't just lay the wood with Joshua.
So let's make some bold predictions here for the fight. I'll give you guys a second just to think about it. My bold prediction is this fight will be dictated and determined a lot by the refereeing, because if they do bring in a ref here that is going to split up these guys, as all Ruiz wants to do is get in there and he wants to like hug you and like throw those little tiny squirrel punches from close distance.
Yeah.
But you have a referee here that's always coming in there with the slightest of hugging or grabbing and breaking it up. That's going to favor Joshua, because he gets to unleash his reach pretty much. So I think if we see a referee that is breaking them up more times than the first fight, that's going to heavily favor Joshua. But on the contrary, if you have a referee that's just like, y'all go ahead, that's going to favor Ruiz a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how the fight is going to be, stage set, directed because of where it's taking place, the people that are funding the fight. There's a lot of
pro-Joshua things going on
There's just a lot of weird things that
The fight is in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Like we don't...
What are the rules?
Neither one of these people are from Saudi Arabia.
It's and it's outdoors, they had to get adjusted to a different climate. Like, I mean, for me, like my bold prediction would be a first round knockout for Joshua, 20-1, because like he could do, like we talked about, he's got the power. If Ruiz is overconfident and maybe thinks he can take a swing, like guys get knocked down. This is heavyweight boxing. Someone can go down like that. We saw it with Wilder Brazil. We saw it with Wilder Bermain Stavern. Like if you want to throw a dart, I'm not saying that this is a plus EV bet or anything, but if you want a dart, throw one at a first round knockout.
Ruiz certainly doesn't want to go the distance.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Athletic monster.
Well, and he also has no chance to win on the no chance, but he's not going to win a decision.
To be honest, he has no chance to win on the cards.
Yeah, he's not going to win a decision.
No chance.
I actually am sort of in line with you. I would say within the first 3 rounds, especially given how the first fight went. Like I think Joshua, if he was gonna come out aggressive early, and he manages to not just not get hit with that same punch, I could see this fight ending because like we said, if he didn't rush in the way that he did in that 3rd round, I don't think Ruiz makes it out of that round because he was down and he was fighting back as hard as he could, but I think he would have probably thrown as many punches as he did and tired himself out, and Joshua would have said, okay, now here's my turn.
He won the first 3 rounds on the scorecard
for sure,
because he didn't even go down when he got hit in the temple there.
Because
he knocked down Ruiz. So he was 10-8. He was up 4 points on the scorecard after 3 rounds.
Unbelievable. I mean, just every time I think about that first fight, it just gives me kind of like this like weird chill feeling, because it's like, how the hell did that happen? Like, I still don't know. I mean, we know how it happened, but it's still really hard to fathom how it happened. But to me, that is probably, like you said, the dart throw. The first round, if you want to give first 3 rounds, like you're going to get a good bet on that happening. And I think that it's very well possible because of how good Anthony Joshua is.
All right, that was bold predictions. Final predictions. How does the fight end and how? And who wins?
I'm taking Joshua to win, and I'm going to take Joshua to win by decision because I think he's going to play it
all the way
safe.
through.
Personally, I do think he's going to play it safe. And I will say this to Andy Ruiz's credit. he got knocked down in that third round, and Joshua still hit him with some big shots later in the fight, but he didn't go down from those. And you could say, well, Joshua was thrown off, but I mean, he was, composed enough to land some pretty good shots, and Ruiz ate him. So, they probably both know each other's power now. I think Joshua's just going to play it safe and just, like you said, jab him to death and just make him eat that stiff left hand.
Yeah, so we're recording this at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. The odds are around like minus 250, between minus 210, minus 250. That gives Joshua like a 67-ish, 68% chance of winning. That's what the implied probability is. I think it's closer to 80. So I don't think there's anything wrong with laying that. So I'm looking for the best number to get on Joshua as soon as this thing shuts off, because the weigh-in stuff, I think things are going to come in. Another bet I think I'm going to make, it's another. I typically like to stay away from laying juice, especially in heavyweight boxing. But I think you can also bet at sports books in Jersey and Vegas. You'll probably be able to get Ruiz to be knocked down at like minus 175, minus 200. I think there's a really good chance he goes down again, just because of the way the fight should play out if Joshua keeps things controlled. Like, it's going to be at the range Joshua wants. At some point, if Ruiz truly wants to win the fight, he's going to have to probably knock him down again. He's going to have to come forward. Hopefully Joshua, for my sake, because of the bet, is able to manage that a little bit better. And I don't really think betting the fight to go to the distance is a bad, betting Joshua to win on the cards is a bad bet either, because like if he knocks him down in the first round, is he going to come forward like he did? Probably not. It's in the back of his head to be like, don't do that. Yeah. But the reason I almost kind of like that early knockout is because if Ruiz gets knocked down and gets hurt, like, I could just be like, I don't want to get back up. Like, I made $9 million. I've got all this stuff coming ahead of me. Like, I already gave my account. I like Joshua. I like Joshua to win early, like inside of
Joshua
the first.
by KO or TKO?
I like Joshua by KO in like the first 12 minutes of the fight.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I will agree that Joshua is going to get my money on this. I think it goes the distance simply because there's so much at stake, not only for him emotionally, reputationally, that it's not worth risking trying to finish this dude off to win my pride back. That just has Ivan Drago, Rocky, round 12 written all over it. He doesn't need that. There's so much at stake here for business with him as well, with the zone, potential Wilder fight, seeing how the Fury Wilder fight comes out. That's worth just God knows how much money, and the prestige of winning that fight. It doesn't matter how you get there, just get in the position to have that fight. I think he understands that, and he knows he's better. And if I'm up 6 points on the scorecard here, I'm not risking anything. I'm going to go out there and just split the final 6 rounds. It's going to be a boring fight. I don't care. So during the day. No one's going to be watching this. Everyone's watching the SEC championship, but you will be paying for the Wilder fight.
I mean, the over/under set at 7.5. I think that's something we haven't really touched.
We're going over.
I think you would say over and over.
I'm taking it.
See, I think I like the under, because I think I just really think that he's going to be able to catch him in the first 18 minutes of the fight, whatever it is. So I just think that this time, if he lands flush, it's going to end.
There you go. Well, those are the predictions, the discussion, the analysis, the advanced analytics of
We'll see you
in
Saudi Arabia.
This is why they fight the fight, though.
You can only get this on the Action Network Boxing Show, folks. That's the only place you get this analysis.
These CompuBox numbers that we have been relaying to you for the past 30 minutes. So it'll be a fun fight this weekend. At the very least, I think it'll be entertaining, which is ultimately all we really care about as fans. Agreed. But if you're trying to make some money, it's really hard to argue for Ruiz at the number. Because remember, in gambling,
bet with the head or bet with the heart.
Well, and you're also betting the number as much as you're betting either the team, the player, or in this case, the fighter that's involved. And that number, my friends, is way too short. Malik, Leboff, Rob Perez here, Action Network Fighting Show. Any last words?
Go Joshua.
Yeah.
Go Joshua.
Go Joshua.